what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey, everybody. How are you this evening? So good to see all of you. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who are new to my channel, this is Behind the Crime Door, and I'm Kristen. I have a tickle in my throat. It's so good to see all of you. Thank you for everyone who's watching on the replay. I appreciate you all so much, even for those of you who can't be here live. I appreciate all of you who watch on the replay. Hey, Dave, how are you? I hope you're doing well this evening. Hey, Sierra, good to have you, my dear. Hi, Deb, how are you?
Now playing you by Benny Blanco, Marshmallow and Von.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys, hold on. Hang on, guys. I'm here, but my computer decided to play music, so just give me a minute. I just love when technology decides to do whatever it wants. Hey, Deb, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. Hi, Melissa. Hey, CJK, how are you?
Sorry, could you repeat what you said?
Hey, Ray Jones, how are you tonight? Thank you for being here. Hey, James. Hey, country girl, how are you? Hi, Indy Pam, how are you? Hey, help me, Rhonda, how are you? Good to have you here tonight. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I am beyond humbled. Beyond. Hey, at Venue 3. Oh, Deb, you were in Florida? I'm jealous. I bet it was warm down there. A nice spring break, I'm sure. I am sure. Wow. We got a lot going on in the true crime world today. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of things to discuss. I'm really glad to see all of you. So tonight we're going to talk about the Kegan Kline guilty plea that happened today in court in Miami County, which is part of what's going on with the Delphi murders. If for those of you who are new here, I'll explain a little bit about Kegan when we get started. Oh, thank you so much, Dave. You're so kind. I wanted to let you guys know that I did do my April gifting of my memberships today. So congratulations to everyone who got memberships, 1-month memberships from me. It's something that I just started doing last month, and it's just a way for me to pay back people who are contributing to my channel and helping my channel grow. I really, truly appreciate all of you. And it's my way of saying thank you to all of you. Unfortunately, I can't pick who gets them. YouTube does that. So I just ask for the gifting, and then they absolutely do that. But yeah, you can definitely join the membership to the Behind the Crime Door. It's on my web or on my channel page, and you can get all the information there. There's 3 levels, and I certainly appreciate all of you who have. I will be doing some more membership content this year. I was waiting for my memberships to get up there because I didn't really want to just do it for 10 people. And so I thought, well, I would wait a little while. And so I wanted to let you guys know that that also will be forthcoming. I've been doing a lot of planning with the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos, guys, a lot more than just live streams. I may cut a live stream out. I haven't completely decided yet, but I may just only go live twice a week instead of 3 times a week. And I'm going to be doing more videos and putting out more videos. So that's just something to look forward to, just to get you caught up a little bit. I've been having much more of a footprint on Twitter, trying to become more aware of cases. And really, there's a website out there. If you guys are not familiar with uncovered.com, please look it up. It's really good. You can donate to them as well. You can become a member there. But they have a lot of cold cases, resources. It's really a great website. And I've been utilizing that as well to find some of these cases that we need to talk about. So let's move along to, we're going to talk about Delphi. We're going to talk about the Idaho murders and Bryan Kohberger. As you guys may have already heard, there's word out there that the defense may have gotten a boost because of the DNA on the knife sheath. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And we are also going to look at some other cases and give you some updates. Hey, Mitzi Scott, how are you? Good to see you. So let's get started. Let's move here to this situation. So I wanted to let you know about Deanna Cremin. Deanna was a 17-year-old girl from Somerville, Massachusetts, who was murdered on March 30th of 1995. And Deanna was celebrating, or had just celebrated, her 17th birthday a few days prior to her murder. And on March 29th, 1995, Deanna went out with her friends and a boyfriend after school. She called her mother, Catherine, to let her know that she would be a little late for her 10 p.m. curfew because she was watching a television episode with her boyfriend, Tommy LeBlanc. Tommy walked Deanna about halfway to her house before returning home to receive a food delivery order. When Deanna didn't return home around midnight, Catherine tried to reach Deanna's pager without success. She figured Deanna was staying the night at Tommy's and she would see her tomorrow. The next morning, Deanna's body was found behind a senior housing complex located less than a block from her home. She was found by two children she had babysat for previously. Her body was lying on its back and was mostly undressed. The autopsy revealed that she had been strangled and sexually assaulted. Her parents were quickly contacted and informed. A few people were identified as persons of interest. First was Deanna's boyfriend, Tommy, who was considered to be the last person to see Deanna alive. Catherine, Deanna's mother, noted that it was unusual that Tommy had only walked Deanna halfway to her house. He normally would walk her to the door and make sure she was home safely. Deanna's friends also indicated that an unnamed Somerville firefighter had developed an interest in Deanna. A third man, also unnamed, was designated as a person of interest and was imprisoned for an unrelated charge. A fourth man was reported to have been seen around the scene of Deanna's murder on the night of March 29th, but was never named as a person of interest and not identified. The case remains unsolved. Despite new forensic evidence being identified in 2005 and an increased reward for information, no one has come forward for Deanna Cremin. Again, if you have any information about this case or the murder of Deanna Cremin, you are to call 617-544-7167 or email friendsofdeannacremin@gmail.com. She went missing on March 29th, 1995, and was obviously found murdered on March 30th, 1995. She is a white female, age 17, with blonde hair, and the timeline of events is between 10 p.m. and midnight, Deanna doesn't come home. 3 days after her 17th birthday, Deanna goes out with friends. Hold on one second here. There we go. I just want to pull this up on the screen, guys, while I'm going over it. So just give me one moment because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm seeing. Okay, so let me show you. Here's a picture of Deanna Cremin and what she looks like, or what she looked like at the time of her murder. And we're going to go over the timeline. Hey, Grizz, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Mandy Ray, good to see you. So good to see you guys. So 3 days after her 17th birthday, she went out with her friends and her boyfriend after school. She did not come home for her 10 p.m. curfew, and her mother was not able to reach her by pager. Tommy LeBlanc is her boyfriend, and he became a person of interest. There is an unidentified man that was a person with information. Catherine Cremin is her mother. This case has been unsolved for 27 years. The questions are, was it the boyfriend? Was it a stranger? Could it be the firefighter? Is there a cover-up? Who murdered and sexually assaulted her? Someone did, and someone knows. This was so close to her home. At 8 a.m. on March the 30th, Deanna is found deceased. The next day, Deanna's body is was found less than a block away from her home by the two children whom she had used to babysit for. That must have been horrific for those children. In 1995, 3 men are identified as persons of interest. Her boyfriend, a Somerville firefighter, more than twice Deanna's age, and a third adult man were identified as persons of interest, but no charges were ever filed. They all three were considered persons of interest or suspects. In 2005, new forensic evidence is found. Using tools that were unavailable in 1995, the Middlesex District Attorney, Martha Coakley, announces that new forensic evidence has been found, but no charges are filed. In 2015, 10 years later, their information reward is raised on the 20th anniversary of Deanna's murder. The Middlesex County District Attorney, Marion Ryan, calls for any new information to be reported to her office, and the reward for any information leading to an arrest or to prosecution is raised to $70,000. So, what a sad, sad story. Again, it's one of those stories that nobody saw anything, nobody has any information, and this case goes cold, and 26 years later, they're still wondering what happened to her. And there's just no answers. So I wanted to give you a overview of her case, and because I thought it was important to just share it. Again, uncover.com is an absolute great place to go for cold cases if you're looking for them, and you can definitely look up cold cases by your state and try to find cases to cover. So that's Deanna. I hope that they find something. They've got new evidence, but it didn't lead to any arrests, which makes me believe that if they did find or get DNA, which I'm thinking is what they may have had, they may have gotten DNA, and been able to identify it or get a DNA profile now. But unfortunately, it's not matching anybody that's in the system. That's my assumption. They're keeping everything to the vest, and they're not releasing why or what, right? So I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is another missing child. When isn't there, right? Hold on a sec. I'm going to show this to you. So she was last seen in Indianapolis. And her name is Oakley Snow. So I don't know if you guys have heard about little Oakley or not, but she was last seen in Indianapolis, Indiana. She's 2 years old, and she was last seen at a house south of downtown Indianapolis after being taken by her mother, Madison Marshall, in January. She has blonde hair, blue eyes. She's just as cute as she can be, and weighs about 35 pounds. Her mother's been arrested, but Oakley remains missing. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Indiana Missing Persons Unit at 317-327-6160 or call Crime Stoppers of Central Indiana at 317-262-8477. On November 7th, this is what we know about Oakley Snow's disappearance at this point, and this is all based on police reports and court records. On November the 7th, the district court in Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, files for a warrant of arrest for Roan Waters on charges of child abuse. Police there allege that Roan Waters, the mother's boyfriend, struck Oakley Snow in the face, causing her to have trauma to her mouth and lips. On January 19th, Oakley Snow's father reports that the 2-year-old and her 7-month-old brother, Colton, were taken by their mother, Madison Marshall, from his home in Cromwell, Oklahoma. He told the Seminole County Sheriff's Office that Marshall and Waters took the children without authorization and likely fled to Indiana, where Waters has family. After learning of the abduction, the Oakley County Sheriff's Office enters the children into the National Crime Information Center database as missing. Late January and early February, Waters, Marshall, Oakley, and Colton arrive in Indianapolis, and Waters' mother allows them to stay in a home that she owns on Albany Street near the intersection of East Troy and Madison Avenues, south of downtown Indianapolis. She bought them baby formula and supplies to assist with caring for the kids. During this time, Waters' sister visits the home and sees bruising on Oakley's legs. The sister confronts the couple, who get angry and tell her to leave. On February 9th, Waters' mother gets a call from Chad telling her that Waters and Marshall left Colton alone with him and asking her to get the baby. She arrives and then calls Waters' sister to care for the child. When asked why they left the baby alone, Waters tells his sister it's because Oakley hurt her head bouncing on a ball and needed emergency care. The sister saw Waters and Marshall return to the house as she was leaving. She did not see Oakley and did not try to speak with the couple. Later that night, the sister reports to the Department of Children's Services that Waters and Marshall left Colton alone at the home because they needed to take Oakley to the hospital. Witnesses later tell police they saw the couple leaving the house with what looked like a child wrapped in a blanket and that the child did not appear to be moving, talking, or crying. On March 3rd, the Glenwood Village Police Department in Colorado arrest Waters on an outstanding warrant after responding to a complaint about occupants of a Best Western hotel. Investigators learned that Marshall was staying at the hotel but was not there when police arrived. There were no signs that children were at the hotel. Waters told investigators that he, Marshall, and the two children left Oklahoma in his blue Dodge Durango and traveled to a trap house in Indianapolis to use drugs. He said they abandoned Colton at the house in Indianapolis before leaving for Colorado. His sister picked up the infant and turned him over to the Department of Child Services, Waters told investigators. He was unable or unwilling to tell police Oakley's location. During jail calls to his mother, Waters said he helped Marshall with dropping Oakley off somewhere, but did not provide specific details. On March the 3rd, Marshall showed up at the home of Waters' sister asking to stay. The sister said she could, but only if Marshall would tell her where Oakley could be found. Marshall left the home on foot instead. The sister has not seen or heard from her since. On March 6th at roughly 4:30 p.m., investigators reach out to the Indianapolis FBI office and request assistance finding Oakley, Colton, and Marshall. After confirming Colton's whereabouts with the Department of Child Services, they reach out to Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department's Missing Persons Unit for assistance. And Colton's father, DCS, told investigators had taken custody of Colton and likely returned to Oklahoma. On March the 7th, Indianapolis police serve a search warrant at the house on Albany Street in Indianapolis. It is unknown what, if anything, was found during that search. On March 8th, shortly after 3 p.m., Indianapolis police post an alert seeking help from the public finding Oakley. They report the toddler may be in the Indianapolis area. On March 16, a warrant is issued out of Marion County, Indiana, for Marshall's arrest on neglect of a dependent charges. On March 23rd, Marshall is arrested in Harnett County, North Carolina, after the sheriff's office received an anonymous tip. Oakley's whereabouts remains unknown. And she is just as cute as she can possibly be. And unfortunately, I just don't think that this story is going to end well. It just breaks my heart. I think it's just another case of people that are supposed to be caring for these children, killing them. And I just don't know. It's just crazy. But that's little Oakley. We're going to keep tabs on what's going on with her. But yeah, I am CJK. I'm right there with you. I am so I'm so tired of these murders of these children. It seems like it's just every other day we're just hearing of more of them and more of them. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but the husband of the missing Massachusetts mom, Anna Walsh, has been indicted for her murder 4 months after she vanished from a New Year's Eve party. I don't know if you guys had heard that or not. Bryan Walsh is 48 years old. He's cited for murder as well as for misleading police investigation for misleading a police investigation and obstruction of justice and improper conveyance of a human body. Anna went missing from a New Year's Eve party around 1:30 a.m. on January 1st. And I think that we all figured that he would be indicted or charged, but it has happened. And he did enter a plea of not guilty to the charge of murder at his Quincy District Court arraignment in January. The indictment moves this case of the missing and the presumed dead mother up to the Norfolk Superior Court. Morrissey says he will be arraigned in the coming weeks. And as of March 30th, Anna's body has yet to be discovered. DNA evidence located throughout this investigation, however, indicates that Bryan killed, dismembered, and discarded his wife's body parts. He is being held without bail. Anna was eventually reported missing on January 4th after her employer said she did not show up to work for her shift. In initial interviews, Bryan told police that he last saw his wife when she left for Boston's Logan Airport on January 1st. He was arrested mere days later on January 8th on suspicion that he misled a police investigation. He was originally held on a $500,000 bond after investigators said they found blood and a broken knife in the family's basement of their home. Police also said that they had surveillance of Bryan wearing a medical mask and surgical gloves and purchasing over $450 in cleaning supplies with cash at a Home Depot. If he's convicted of first-degree murder, Bryan faces mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this is just crazy, this case. In January, Anna's DNA was discovered on several items, and prosecutors said Bryan had made a series of disturbing Google searches, including how long before a body starts to smell, how to stop a body from decomposing, how to embalm a body, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. The Massachusetts husband also Googled dismemberment and what happens when you put body parts into ammonia. Other Google searches for hacksaw best tool to dismember and can you be charged with murder without a body were also allegedly located at that time. In the basement of the couple's Cohasset home, police found blood, a bloody knife, another knife, heavy-duty tarp, and plastic liners. They also recovered trash bags, some of which contained bloodstain items, including towels, rags, slippers, cleaning agents, carpets, and a Prada purse. Anna's COVID-19 vaccination card was also inside, along with a hacksaw. He left an extensive digital trail for police with all of these Google searches about divorce, murder, dismemberment, and decomposing bodies. He never reported his wife missing, which obviously was a red flag for the local authorities. And the Norfolk District Attorney's Office confirmed this week that a number of items were recovered from the Peabody transfer station after they sifted through the trash there for hours. Prosecutors have alleged Bryan was unhappy in his marriage and wanted out. And he later changed his mind about divorce and decided to rid his life of Anna. After he initially was charged with misleading police on January 8th, he was charged with her murder on January 17th. Friends say the couple's marriage was strained as a result of Anna's grueling work schedule, which meant they spent much of their time living apart. Anna lived partially in Washington, D.C., and Bryan and their sons in Massachusetts. It was a person with Tishman Speyer, the real estate company Anna worked for, who had reported her missing in the first place. A man who identified himself as the firm's head of security in Washington, D.C., called police in Cohasset to request a welfare check for her. These statements contradicted Bryan's lawyer's claim in court that he had notified her work that she was missing. Just before she went missing, Anna was also photographed without her wedding ring in some of the final photos of her. Friends said there was tension in the marriage because of her work schedule. Her friends are now appealing for care of her children. One person who openly stated they do not believe Bryan would have wanted to hurt Anna is the woman's own mother. The Serbian Foreign Ministry said Milanka Ljubicic, 69, signed a formal request to receive documents about the case regarding her daughter's disappearance. She still resides in Serbia, and she told local media she cannot believe her son-in-law would hurt her daughter, despite him being charged with the murder. In January, Anna's mother told Fox News that she had conversations with her daughter just prior to her vanishing. She just said, "Please, Mama, come tomorrow." Clearly, there must have been some problems, her mother said. And now I cannot forgive myself for not just letting things fall where they may and just go there. And whatever happens to me happens. According to the arrest records and local outlets, Walsh is no stranger to legal trouble. In 2018, he was convicted of fraud for stealing and attempting to sell 2 fake Andy Warhol paintings that he advertised as being genuine. He was the son of a wealthy family who is now estranged from him. In court filings, his family accused him of stealing millions from his elderly father after the man suffered a stroke. Family friends called him a sociopath and said all he ever cared about was his father's money. Bryan and Anna originally met in 2008 while she was working at a hotel in the Berkshires. The pair married in Serbia in 2015 and later welcomed their 3 sons. Anna started working for Tishman Speyer in February of 2022, accepting a role as the general manager of the company's Washington, D.C. office. Despite never having uncovered Anna's body, investigators said that they have enough genetic material to tie Walsh to the murder of his wife. So if you guys don't remember this case, hold on one second here. I'm going to pull it up so that you can see her and him. So this is a picture of Anna. And this is a picture of her husband, Bryan Walsh, coming out of jail. Okay. Dustin, it depends on what time you would like to have me on, because I will have a live stream at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. My live streams usually go about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I'm usually ready to not just be talking. I know last time you said it would be like 10 o'clock. But yeah, I really don't want to do later than 10. So if you could figure out a different time, I would be more than happy to be on your podcast, and just would want to know exactly what we would be talking about. So just email me the particulars of what you want and when, and I will get back to you. But thank you so much for the invite. Okay, so Idaho, guys. First of all, I wanted to tell you that, they came out and they had this information this week about, there's a internal affairs disclosure and internal affairs investigation on one of the law enforcement officers tied to the Idaho murders case. And of course, people ran with that and were thinking, oh, what did some police officer do that he shouldn't have done? And, what wrongdoing was done? Is it going to, hurt the case or whatever? And they came back out and made published more information and have basically said that it could be completely unrelated to the quadruple homicide. So we need to be careful about just rushing around, speculating on that. We don't want to do anything that might hurt the case. But I just thought that was interesting because the Latah County prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson informed the magistrate judge Megan Marshall and Kohberger's team this week that it would be disclosing potential Brady Giglio material, which is related to a police officer involved in the massacre probe, but that doesn't mean that there's a connection with the stabbings of the 4 University of Idaho students in November. It just means that some of the information about this officer that may be being released should not be brought to light because it has nothing to do with the case. Brady material is information that could potentially prove a defendant's innocence, experts tell Fox News. Giglio material is damaging to the integrity of a witness. In this case, one of the officers involved in the investigation. Marshall granted Thompson's request for a protective order that will withhold the material from the public based on the argument that they are part of a personnel file, which is exempt from being disclosed. So, this is not uncommon, Paul Morrow, an attorney and former NYPD inspector, said of the disclosure. Defense attorneys are entitled to the information through discovery, while the prosecutor is asking that whatever is turned over remain sealed due to the exemption under state law. Giglio materials may be used by the defense to undermine an investigator's credibility, but they don't have to be related to the student's stabbings. This is a case that is going to go up on appeal before or because of mandatory appeals in death penalty cases, according to Niyama Ramnai, who is a former federal prosecutor. She said, so you just want to disclose everything so you don't get a death sentence overturned on appeal because you didn't comply with your constitutional obligations. Furthermore, he said prosecutors likely won't even call the impeachable officer to testify anyway and will build their case around unimpeachable evidence. It comes as the city and its police department and several officers face a federal lawsuit from a church group in town alleging violations of constitutional rights in connection with a crackdown on protests over COVID-19 restrictions. And that case is Wilson versus Moscow. The disclosures might be related to the federal lawsuit, or they could be related to something else entirely. If it's anything from the lawsuit, it might be the allegation that the police withheld crime scene video for well over a year. This is all kind of speculation, and it literally could be anything. It doesn't have to be anything illegal, just something that could impeach the officer's character. It could be beating your wife, smoking weed, getting passed out drunk at a bar, misusing your authority, lying to protect another officer, excessive force. It's not just illegal conduct. It's anything unethical or embarrassing, anything that says you are a liar, lying on your taxes. I've seen these, and it can range anything that can be potentially used to impeach you on the witness stand. Think about all the things that can be used to cross-examine and impeach a police officer. There is such a wide range of possibilities. One of the officers named in the lawsuit was reportedly among the first Moscow police personnel that responded to the King Road home on November 13th, hours after Kohberger allegedly snuck inside with a knife and stabbed 4 friends to death in the middle of the night. As we know, the attack did kill 21-year-old best friends Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, along with their housemate Xana Kernodle and her visiting boyfriend Ethan Chapin, both 20 years old. All 4 had been stabbed multiple times. Only some of the victims suffered defensive wounds, suggesting that the 4 a.m. ambush began with some of them sleeping. Kohberger is being held without bail at the Latah County Jail. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for the week of June 26th. So that's the information that I have on that, you guys. Hey, Aspen, how are you, my dear? So good to see you. So, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Just if you're available on Saturday night, let me know. Or we can do something next week. Just let me know what your schedule is, my dear. I'm wide open. As far as guests go. Oh, Miracle Hearts too. So sorry to hear about that. I hope you feel better soon. That sounds terrible. Yeah, Saturday would be great. I would love it. Absolutely love it. I love when you're on. I think my community loves you as well, so it will be great. We can discuss all this Delphi craziness and whatever else you want to talk about as well. There's lots of cases to talk about for sure. I'm still reeling with all the information. I got the Stephen Smith murder file sent to me, and it's lengthy, and I've been going over that and trying to look at all of the evidence that was in that file, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me. I'm just, like I said, I'm floored. I do not believe there's any way it could have been a hit and run based upon the fact that he was wearing shorts. His shoes were loosely tied. He had no abrasions or scrapes on his body like he had been hit by a car. And he would have lost his shoes. So, so anyway, that is what's going on there. I just thought that was kind of interesting. The other thing that's going on with Idaho and Bryan Kohberger, so they're saying that the defense may get a huge boost over this the knife sheath DNA. Bryan's attorneys are most definitely going to seize the opportunity to sow doubt in the jury's mind about DNA left on a knife sheath at the scene where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. And this is according to legal experts. Police arrested Kohberger, a graduate student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, at the time of the killings on December 30th, after DNA left at the scene connected him to the crime, according to a probable cause affidavit. The affidavit said that the Idaho State Lab reported that DNA found on a knife sheath was matched with DNA from the suspect's father found in trash taken from the Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania. Kohberger was taken into custody and extradited to Idaho. He has not yet entered a plea to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary, but a lawyer who previously represented him back in Pennsylvania said he was eager to be exonerated. According to Howard Bloom, a journalist and author working on a book about the murders, the knife sheath was sent out of Idaho to be tested by a startup lab in Texas. They sent it first to the lab in Idaho, and the lab in Idaho couldn't find anything. So they thought this might be a dead end, Blum said on the Megyn Kelly show earlier in March. In an appearance on News Nation on Wednesday, Blum said investigators sent the knife sheath to Texas because they wanted to make an arrest. They wanted desperately to tie the suspect to this knife sheath, he said. The lab in Texas specialized in proprietary devices that made what is called kinship DNA, Blum said. You could figure out a relative of the DNA that you already had, and this lab was set up to investigate unsolved murders. The lab had only been used for cold cases prior to Moscow police sending it the knife sheath. It's a problem for the prosecution if the reports are accurate and the first lab did not match the DNA to Kohberger. Niama Ramani, an attorney and former federal prosecutor, told Newsweek. Even though familial DNA matches are new, the state is going to have to explain why the first lab drew a different conclusion. Ramani added, it's uncommon for such a bloody crime scene to have only a single source of DNA connected to a defendant. The defense will argue that it was transferred or planted. There may also be a lot of other people's DNA at the scene because it was a party house. The defense will argue that law enforcement didn't rule them out as suspects. Mark O'Mara, a criminal defense and civil rights attorney, also said Kohberger's defense team are very sure to contest the DNA evidence. Defense attorneys look wherever they can to find a potential of reasonable doubt, he told News Nation's Ashley Banfield. And when there is a test, either that they have to do unique, they have to go out of state, they have to do a second or a third time, or it's inconclusive. Those are little items, little catchphrases that defense attorneys use to see if there's reasonable doubt there. Now, again, it's got to be taken in comparison to all other evidence. But certainly a defense team has to be pretty happy that the test did not come back positive to Kohberger's DNA on it, for example. So yes, it's something they're going to look at. O'Mara's comments come after prosecutors in Idaho disclosed that an officer who worked on the Kohberger case has been the subject of a confidential internal affairs investigation. Latah County Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall granted a protective order requested by the prosecutors to keep material from being publicly disclosed. In January, Marshall issued a sweeping gag order barring attorneys, law enforcement agencies, and others associated with the case from talking or writing about it. She later broadened it to also prohibit any attorneys representing survivors, witnesses, or the victim's family members from talking or writing about the case. Man, you guys, that is some explosive stuff, in my opinion. That is, Dave, you have a great night and you stay safe. Oh, Mitzi, that's terrible. I am so sorry. Oh, that is so awful. I can't even imagine witnessing something like that. Yes, when there's ever a vehicle hit by a pedestrian, hit by a vehicle, there's going to be enormous damage done to that body. Especially when you're talking country road at night, they're not going to be driving 15, 20 miles an hour when they hit someone, and there's going to be a lot of damage. But yeah, I'm really sorry, Mitzi, to hear about that, and I'm so glad to know that you that she made it through. Terrible. Just terrible. So, oh, CJK, you can ask me about Flora. We can talk about it after Delphi tonight. You can ask me whatever you want to after Delphi tonight. So I'm glad to see that people are talking about Flora, though. It's making me happy because Flora needs to be talked about, and it needs to be talked about a lot. So getting back to Bryan Kohberger and what this means, I just want to say that I am thinking that this could be huge for the defense and really a problem for the prosecution in the Idaho murders case. If they sent the knife sheath to the lab in Idaho and they could not find DNA or whatever, either the lab, it doesn't have the ability, which is a possibility. Maybe they don't have the equipment that they needed. We don't know that. But if they didn't find it and they did have the ability to find it, that's huge. And they sent it to a different lab, and it's a startup lab. That is going to be easy for the prosecution to absolutely come at them. Or the defense to come at the prosecution, and there's going to be a lot of questions. Hey, Daisy, how are you? So I think that that's something to worth keeping an eye out for. We're going to know. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see because we really don't know where this is headed until we get into court. As I said before, a lot of these questions, we can ask, but we're not going to really know until we get into court. But I definitely, from what I know, I definitely feel that there is some crazy stuff if that's the case. Crazy stuff. So, so let's get into Delphi, guys. Today was the day that Kegan Kline went to court and actually pled guilty to all charges. So he pled guilty to all the charges, the CSAM charges, the 25 of them, and they set his sentencing for May 18th, I think. I think it's May 18th. If somebody in there, if you guys know in the chat and I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think it's May 18th. And the reason being, the prosecutors stated that they have to go and do all of these investigations prior to sentencing. They have to look at his past, his family life, his home. They have to look at everything. And I'm sitting here thinking, when I heard this, I'm like, Are you kidding me? This guy's been sitting in jail for 3 years come August. How do you not already have that stuff done? How would you not have already done those investigations? I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. So, yeah, CJK, I'm thinking that that's the case. I'm hoping that that's the case, that it's a smaller lab. They didn't have the equipment, and that the lab that was sent to was specifically designed to find familial DNA. So, yeah. But yeah, at least there's some justice there coming, hopefully, for Kegan. I hope he gets quite a bit of time. I've heard people saying that he may not get time. He may have time served and be let go. I hope that's not the case. He needs to pay for this action and for these crimes, and it's just crazy. Yeah, Aspen, you're right. Flint Farmers trial will be on May 9th. And we'll be covering that as well. All these cases, it's just insane. But anyway, so I put out a short today about Kegan, and there's a lot of people that still are out there that firmly 100% believe the Klines had some involvement with the Delphi murders. And they will not give up on the fact that he has nothing to do with it. And all I can say is time will tell. Because they have not said anything. Law enforcement hasn't gone there. They've not pressed charges against him. They've had the ability to do so for 3 years. He's been in jail. They know so much already about him. They know that he contacted Abby and Libby the night before they were murdered. That's what's being reported in the news media. And I do think that he's gonna have to pay for these crimes. If he has any information regarding Delphi, I would think now's the time for him to step up and tell people. But he's had a ton of time to do that. And now all of a sudden he has decided to plead guilty, even though the government did not give him any deal. He got no deal. And so I don't believe, Ray, I don't think they'll put him in Gen Pop. I don't think he'll ever go there, simply because of the nature of his crimes. But I'm hopeful, Deb, that you are right, that he's going to serve some time here. And I hope so. It just depends. Like I said, I don't know anything about the judge that's hearing his case. I don't know how he sentences on these kinds of things. And, it all boils down to that. It's going to be up to the court to decide what his punishment is. It's not up to anybody else. So we'll have to see. There's a lot going on in June, as Aspen said. June is usually the month for weddings, but it looks like we're going to be having hearings and trials. Bryan Kohberger is set for the 26th, and Richard Allen is set for June 15th. That's a preliminary hearing. That is not a trial date for Richard Allen. So I don't believe that he will go to trial this year. I will be shocked, let's put it that way, if Richard Allen's trial is this year. But I don't know. Yeah, I know, Josh. I get it. I totally understand why people believe this. I do. It would be an absolutely enormous coincidence if he's not involved in some way, but it is possible that he just maybe contacted them and was talking to them through the Anthony Shots profile and never ever intended to meet them. So I hope he gets at least 30 years. But who knows? Like I said, he's already been in for almost 3 years, so he's going to get credit for that time he served. And when they have the preliminary hearing, it's basically, you're going to learn a lot in a preliminary hearing because it's basically the prosecution throwing everything out. This is what we know. This is why we feel that this person should go to trial. And that's when the judge will decide if there's enough evidence to take this to trial, which I believe that they already have that. They have enough. But Bryan Kohberger has not stated a plea yet. He has not stated guilty or not guilty to these charges yet. So we have to wait on that. So the other thing is that I don't know if you guys heard, but they're saying that this trial could cost Carroll County $2 million. It's a lot of money. A lot of money for a county that is small, a county that's about 20,000. That is a lot of money. So hold on a second, guys, just 1 second. Okay, so yeah, Josh Duggar did not just get 6 years. He actually got sentenced to 12 years and 7 months. Oh, sorry guys, there you go. Hilarious. Aspen, you're funny. No, seriously, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Well, they're not, it's not the judge, Daisy. The prosecutor was interviewed after court this morning, and she basically said that they have to go in. There's a whole bunch of things they have to do before sentencing can take place. And they have to do a pre-sentencing investigation, and they have to take a look at everything about him, any past crimes he's, been involved in. They have to look at his home life, his upbringing. They're going to look at his psychological evaluations. They're going to look at all of that stuff. And so it has nothing to do with the judge. It has to do with the law and the way the law reads on before sentencing can happen. This has to happen. And that's the way she explained it. Because I was like thinking it was possible for them to sentence him today. I was very surprised that he didn't get sentenced today. But there is an interview out there. I'll try and find it and see, and see if we can figure out what exactly she said. Oh, you're so welcome, Daisy. Always, for sure. So $2 million, guys. This is a lot of money. A lot of money. And it's going to be the most expensive murder trial ever conducted in this county. Again, a trial date hasn't been set for him. As we well know, it probably will take place in June, though. They'll probably set a trial date then, or they will extend it out, and we may not still know when it's going to be. But a week before Allen was arrested in October, the Carroll County Council approved an annual budget of about $17.5 million. And in December, Carroll County Auditor Beth Myers posted a notice to alert the taxpayers that the council was seeking to appropriate an additional $2.1 million for anticipated costs related to the double murder trial. The council approved the appropriations request in January, including $1,535,000 for personal services, $530,000 for other services, and $35,000 for supplies. Myers confirmed for 13 News that the money was for Allen's trial, but declined to comment further, citing the gag order in the case imposed by Judge Francis Gull. With just over 20,000 residents in Carroll County, $2.1 million in trial expenses would translate to about $100 for every man, woman, and child in the county. So what does this money, or where is this money going to, or why is it there's so much? Well, conducting a big murder trial in a small community does not come cheap. There are several factors that are pushing the price tag for Carroll County and pushing it higher. And first and foremost, the special judge and the fact that a jury is going to be brought in from Allen County, which is located about 2 hours away, means that throughout the trial, Carroll County will need to pay for all transportation, hotel rooms, food, and entertainment for the jury and the judge's staff. The trial is expected to last at least a week and perhaps much longer. And I can't see this trial lasting a week. It is going to be much longer. The county will likely be paying for a lot of meals and a lot of hotel rooms. Secondly, Richard Allen told the court that he cannot afford the cost of his own defense. So that's prompting Judge Gull to approve his request for the public defender. Carroll County is therefore responsible for Allen's legal bills and his two court-appointed public defenders. It is possible that it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Executive Director of the Indiana Public Defender Commission stated, "It's obviously expensive to provide public defense, but at the same time, it's a mandated expense, literally mandated by the United States Constitution." Allen County is a member of the State Public Defender Commission, which requires participating counties to ensure indigent defendants are appointed highly qualified defense attorneys. The commission also establishes minimum compensation requirements for the public defenders that are hired by its members, which means that Carroll County must pay Allen's 2 public defenders at least $100 per hour. Membership in the State Public Defender Commission also brings good news for Carroll County taxpayers, because the commission will actually reimburse Carroll County for up to 40% of what it spends on Allen's defense costs. That's a significant savings for a small rural community. If, for example, attorneys, defense experts, and legal research for Allen were to cost $250,000, the Public Defender Commission would reimburse Carroll County for $100,000 of those expenses. They view it as an insurance policy against a major case happening in their county that could cost a lot of money they could not otherwise afford, and that's exactly the kind of case that we are talking about here. We have all said for the last 6 years, this is probably going to be one of the biggest trials in the state of Indiana that they've ever seen. This is going to be covered internationally. Everybody is going to be covering and talking about this trial. Even with partial reimbursement, though, from the Public Defender Commission, the cost of Richard Allen's defense attorneys and an out-of-town jury, extra security, and other expenses for the Delphi murder trial is going to add up really quickly for Carroll County. Is it going to add up to that $2.1 million that's been appropriated? Probably not, according to the Madison County prosecutor, Rodney Cummings. He says that sounds like a lot of money to him, a lot more money than they're going to spend, but it's better to have it in the coffers ready to go in case you need it. Cummings knows about expensive murder trials. His office prosecuted Frederick Bear, who killed a young mother and her 4-year-old daughter inside their Lapel home in 2004. That trial cost Madison County $300,000. And Madison County is now preparing for the trial of Carl Roy Webb Boards II, who's accused of shooting and killing Elwood police officer Noah Shanavaz last August. The prosecutor expects that trial is going to cost his county up to $500,000. Both of these are death penalty cases, the most expensive type of murder case to prosecute due to the possibility of mandatory appeals that could last for decades. In the Delphi case against Richard Allen, the Carroll County prosecutor has thus far not told us that they have any plans to seek the death penalty against him. And for that reason, Cummings does not think Carroll County will spend $2.1 million on this trial. And even if Carroll County does pursue capital murder charges against Richard Allen, Cummings believes the case will cost far less than what the county has allocated. He says it's very good, though, that they have set it aside. A study that was conducted in 2015 by the Indiana Legislative Services Agency found that the average cost of a capital murder case tried before a jury was $789,581, while death penalty cases resolved by guilty plea cost an average of $433,702. Murder cases in which the prosecution sought lesser sentences, such as life without parole, cost much less, according to the report. 13 Investigates is tracking the spending for Allen's highly publicized trial, and legal bills for his defense must be submitted to the judge for approval before they are paid. Spokeswoman for the judge's office tells 13 Investigates that the judge has not yet received any invoices for public defender services in the Delphi case. Nothing. So that's where that stands, you guys. Hey, Perpetual Motion. If Richard Allen was stalking kids online and knew it was a snow day and he planned on trapping victims on the bridge for a while, I believe so. That's all he needed to know. Yeah, Mitzi, they're, hey, it is what it is. That's where your taxes go. And, your taxes go to fund things like that. CJK said that they were listening to a live this morning, and the gal who was there said Kegan is still big, and she was surprised how fast he got into the police van that quickly. I think he was worried he'd be a target. I don't know. And Dave's right. Who didn't know this was going to be expensive? Oh, you're welcome, Aspen. I try. I don't know about it bringing money in. I mean, it depends. You're going to have, it probably will generate revenue for the county, or at least for the city of Delphi. But I don't know how much. Sorry, guys, I got something in the corner of my eye. I don't know how much there is lodging in Delphi directly. If they have to lodge them in Lafayette or Logansport, I don't know where they have to go to find hotels for all of these people. They're going to have jurors and alternate jurors, and they're going to have the court people that help the judge. They're going to all of those people are going to have hotel rooms. Then you've got all of the people coming in for the news media outlets that are going to be coming in and wanting to cover this case, and they're going to be all wanting hotels. A lot of them are not going to get close. They're going to have to probably stay in Lafayette or even in Indianapolis and drive up, because there's just not going to be enough, I don't think, close. But let's see. People underestimate how many pedophiles are out there. It's extremely possible a girl could get murdered, and when they look into their history, they could have been talking with one, and there's no connection. There are so many predators everywhere. Every day. I mean, the research that I just do for my channel, I can't believe the number of stories and accounts. I mean, I bring some of them to you guys. I mean, we've got pastors, we've got coaches, we've got doctors and lawyers. And I mean, they're everywhere. They're in every walk of life. And yeah, and as far as the girls go, and as far as these teenagers and the preteen girls, I'm sorry, but I am going to be really frank about how I feel about this. But girls are going to talk. They're going to talk to boys. They're going to talk to people online, just like anybody else. And just because they're out there talking to someone online doesn't mean they deserve to be murdered. And it doesn't make them bad girls. So we have to be very careful when we're discussing that, how that comes across, because as everyone knows on my channel, we do not victim blame here. We don't blame anybody that's a victim, and I'm not going to blame teenage girls for being teenage girls. What I do hope happens is that as these cases happen, that more parents sit down with their teenage daughters and have lengthy conversations with them about these cases and talk to them about what happens and the truth of it. Don't try to protect them from these kinds of things happening. They need to know that this could be you if you don't do the right thing. I know that that's putting the fear into them, and that takes away some of their innocence. But if it means saving their life, to me, it's worth it. And yes, Aspen, they're boys as well, not just girls. Boys as well. They all need to hear it. I feel that it's something that needs to be taught in school. I think they need to I mean, I don't know about if it should be in health class or whatever, but they need to have a section set off where they talk about the internet and the dangers of stalking and predators and everything. These kids are out there playing online games on Discord and all of these social media platforms, and they don't know who they're talking to on the other side of that keyboard. And you have these kids who end up being groomed by these predators, and they don't even know that that's happening. I guarantee you that if Libby was talking to Kegan Kline, and it sounds like she didn't know it was Kegan Kline she was talking to. She was a very smart girl. I don't believe for a minute that she had any inkling that she was talking to somebody who was preying on her. And these predators, sorry, my hair's driving me crazy. These predators this isn't their first day off the block. They know what they're doing. This isn't the first time that they've been dabbling in this or doing this. And most often, they're going to try and do whatever it takes to get what they want. And they look for the vulnerable. They look for the girls who may not have all the confidence. They look for the girls who, and boys for the same, that are vulnerable, that may need a little bit of extra stroking when it comes to how they feel about themselves. Things like that. I believe that they look for that, and they look for those types of people. So Aspen says, I think the boys need to be informed too, as they are statistically less likely to seek help or tell anyone. Boys also need taught how to be good men and not perpetuate sexist norms that dehumanize girls. Yes. All of that. Yes, yes, yes. We need to teach our young men and our boys how to be good men, and teach them that women and girls are not items of ownership. They are people. They're human beings with rights and with feelings, and they have the right to say no. They have the right to not want any part of whatever it is you're wanting. And when a girl or a boy says no, no means no. We need to teach them that. And I think that a lot of times, for whatever reason, it isn't just that they aren't taught this. I mean, we look back on some of these people and they're just horrific. And it's not, they didn't all just have horrible upbringings. Some of them had good upbringings. And it makes you wonder what turns them this way or what makes them become this way. But there's a lot of predators out there who I don't think it has anything to do with how their parents raised them, but a lot of times it does. And we just need to have that across the board, where I think people just need to be more open. We have become such a society in this country where we have this Christian ethic in this country where we don't talk to our kids about sex. We don't talk to our kids about predators that are after them for sex. We don't talk to them about these things because of our Christian beliefs and our Christian morals. And I'm sorry, but that's just not cutting it anymore. That is not something that needs to be happening. These kids need to be able to voice what happens to them. They need to be able to come to their parents, the people who are supposed to protect them. They need to be able to come to them and say, hey, this happened to me at softball practice, or this happened to me on the bus, or, this happened to me when I was away at camp, or whatever it is. Or I was talking online and this guy wants to meet me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Any kind of sexual exploitation or assault, whether it's to boys or girls, it scars them forever. It changes who they are. And it's horrific. Yeah, right. Exactly, Aspen. It's the truth. Because that old adage of boys will be boys and boys have to sow their oats and all that other garbage that men have lived under for centuries. It's just, it's something that's a mindset that has to change. It is a mindset that has to change. Yeah, Ray, that's so true. I'm glad that your daughter has learned some of that because it's important. I think that it's one of the things that I think Abby and Libby would want young people to be aware of, that this can happen to anyone. They didn't expect this to happen to them that day. They went out to have a good time. And kids are afraid. And a lot of times these predators make them afraid. They even as they're grooming them, they tell them, this is our secret. Don't tell anyone. One of the things that I have always done with my grandchildren and my own children is that I tell them, when anyone asks you to keep a secret from your mother or your father or from me or your grandfather, those are not good people. You shouldn't keep secrets from your mother and your dad. And if you teach that to them early at a young age, then they learn as they grow up that, they're wanting me to keep a secret. This might not be a good idea for me to keep that kind of secret. So it's just, I'm just sad in so many ways that we have to have these kind of conversations with our kids, but it's beyond that. I mean, it's to the point now where we have to. Their safety depends upon it. And Abby and Libby were doing everything right. They went together. They weren't alone out there. They say go in groups. There was 2 of them. Who would have ever thought, this is a rural area, not high crime. You wouldn't think anything like this would have happened to those 2 young girls that day. And it just goes to show you, like we said, predators are everywhere and you just don't know. So, Kegan's going to find out what happens to him in May, and Richard Allen is going to have to decide what's going on in June. And it's going to be really interesting when this all rolls around. Delphi is going to have a ton of press in their little town again. It's going to be everywhere. I feel for the family terribly. I talk to Becky every now and then, and just to check in on her and make sure she's doing okay. And this is hard. This is so hard, you guys. It's just hard. It's not something that anyone wants to live through. And if we think, we're all excited and we want to see this trial happen and we're wanting justice, and you have to think about how much this affects them. Yeah, exactly, Aspen. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. Look at Kaylee and Madison in Idaho's a decade older almost. And they did everything right and still had the same outcome. Exactly. I mean, my God, they were home sleeping in their beds. How much more safe could you be? Or at least think you are. And so I think he was supposed to be 18. I'm not sure. 17, 18. I definitely think Libby was too smart to meet someone on the bridge. But with that being said, if she was as enamored with Anthony's shots as it seems to sound like she may have been, that may have been a drawing factor if she honestly thought she was talking to him. So, and I really, there's a lot that that we just don't know about this case yet, and it's so mind-boggling to me. I mean, I know we've heard over and over again from Doug Carter that there's all these tentacles and all these things, and I'm so anxious to find out just what all of that is and what it is that we don't know about this case that we think we know and that we're all wrong about. That's what I'm waiting to find out. Cuz I've always been one of the adage people that sits here, I do my channel, I do my live streams, I talk about these cases, but I'm the first one to tell you I will never ever have a POI publicly. I will never come out and tell you that I have a POI publicly unless the law enforcement has given me enough evidence to say that I have a POI, and I will never die on a hill for that POI. And in this case, we have had so many people that have done that over the 6 years I've been covering this case. I've been following this case since day one, and I'm not kidding you. You can get into conversations with people even today, and they will literally take your head off if you don't listen to them talk about who they think is guilty, and that it's not Richard Allen. He's not Bridge Guy. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but he is, I mean, he is. He's the guy on the bridge, guys. I have no doubt in my mind at all. And I'm not afraid to say it. I have no doubt. I know he's innocent until proven guilty, but I have no doubt in my mind. Thank you, Ray. There's some awesome predator catcher channels here on YouTube from all over the country. And it's so crazy and disturbing how many predators they are always catching. Maria turned me on to those channels early last year. I didn't know they existed. And I watch them every once in a while, and it is disgusting. The men, especially, that go to meet these young girls and boys. I mean, it just makes your skin crawl. I will never understand it. And I'm so glad that they're willing to put themselves on, on the line to do it. Just, Josh, I don't understand it quite either. I've always, when I had, the captain on from True Crime Garage last year on my channel, he and I talked about that, and one of the things I said is I think it's almost akin to sports teams. It's like they don't. This is what they've dug their heels into, and that they're going to defend it with everything they have. And to me, that's not being realistic in the true crime world. Why would you follow true crime if you're not willing to look at every single piece of evidence and turn over every single rock and look at every single person objectively? Yeah, it's repulsive, and sadly they're such clowns when you see these fools. They are. I mean, when they walk up to them in the stores or in the parking lots or whatever, and you see these people, and then they start to run from them. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. It does, and it also hurts the case. So, and there's a ton of them out there. I saw another channel just this morning that is still throwing Kelsey under the bus. Of course, I reported them, but still, I'm like, I don't understand it. I will never understand it. And I'm just like, and a lot of times you look at those guys that they're catching, and some of them you would never imagine. You look at them and you're like, what? Why are you here? Why would you be doing this? It's just crazy. There's a lot of decoys in the federal government, in the Marshal Service and places like that. That's what they do, is they go into chats and they go on to social media, and they try to find these individuals and talk to them and lure them so that they can catch them. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you, my friend? So good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for dropping in. Yeah, Josh, I so agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I don't mind people's angles or theories. I don't mind any of that. But when you become confirmation bias to me and dig your feet in the sand and you won't look at the evidence, then you have a different agenda than wanting justice for whatever the case is that you're covering. Yeah, Maria's right. I couldn't do it. I thought that I was this strong woman and that, I could probably do this stuff. And I'm here to tell you just some of the stuff that I have to read and just a little bit that I see on a daily basis. There is no way that I could work in the FBI in the major crimes unit against children. There's no way. Some of this stuff. Hey, Jeff, how are you? Welcome. Yes, Aspen, you're right. Those channels don't care about the girls. They only care about fact, that conflict equals views, and they'll perpetuate their narrative as long as people will listen to the bullshit they're spewing. And it makes me mad, but I try not to give them the time of day. But every once in a while, their stupid channels appear in my feed. I guess I should block them or something so that they can't, because it makes me so angry. Especially now, after Richard Allen's been arrested and everything, especially with Delphi, I'm just like, quit it, you know? Stop going after Kelsey. What the hell? Yeah, Dave, you're right. Kids were sad in our day too. They just never talked about it. We didn't have social media. You know, back when I was a teenager and in high school, we didn't have social media. We didn't have to worry about what was being said about us online, about other people and our friends. We didn't have to worry about pictures of ourselves being plastered all over social media, if we were in some compromised position or in some way. These kids have so much going on right now. I just read another bullying story on Twitter today, where there's a mother whose little boy is in the hospital because he has been bullied so badly that he tried to commit suicide. And it's just like, and I mean, he's young, 10, 11. I mean, these kids just get younger and younger, and it's just so sad. Oh, I'm doing good, Frank. Doing really good. Thank you so very much for being here. I know how busy you creators are, and when you drop in to see me, it means so much to me. Um, Jeff says that he's been watching while eating. Have to agree with us. It's been far too many of that type during the beginning of the Idaho 4 murders. Yep. Yep. I've heard that so much, Ray, from a lot of my male friends as well, that they would kill them. That if they were in the room alone with them, they would tear them apart. So you can see why it happens. They don't get a welcoming when they go to prison. And it's crazy because I started on Reddit before I started on YouTube. And I have my Reddit sub, Delphi's Daughters. And I started that subreddit because of all the infighting that was happening on the Libby Abbey sub when I was in there. And it was because whenever you were talking about the case and you were talking about facts of the case, if you would bring up facts, people didn't want to talk about them. They wanted to talk about really far off speculation. And when you would bring them back to the reality of it and say, well, okay, you want to talk about this person as being your suspect. How do you place that suspect there that day? Do you know that they were there that day? Or are you just assuming because they did this, this, and this to this person over here that they were there that day? You have to be able to place them there. I have learned so much in the last year, 14 months since I've been on YouTube, from Perry, from Faxx, and from Steve from True Crime Web, my two really good close friends who are police officers, retired. And of course, CD, same with him. Talking to these guys, and you learn how cases work. You learn how you start out thinking the absolute worst and then work your way out from that. And as you do that, you're checking people off. You're checking off the boxes of this person isn't responsible. This doesn't have anything to do with that. This going on. And you have to be able to do that. I have a very, very good friend whose son took his life. Her son took his life back in 2017. He was 11 years old. He was in middle school, and he had been bullied so horribly at his school that she moved him to a private Catholic school, and she thought things were going better there. Seemed to be better. And obviously the bullying that he had gone through was far, far greater and had more of an effect on him than she ever imagined, because he did commit suicide. And it was gut-wrenching for all of us. It is the first time it ever touched my life. I cannot tell you how devastating it was to all of us. And then I had to help her get through it because I have lost a child, and she knew that. And so she, reaching out, we talked about it. We talked about a lot of the things that she was feeling. And because I had worked so closely with compassionate friends over the years, and started the local chapter of it here in my hometown, and led that group for many, many years, and went to many training sessions and learned so much about grief and about loss and the different kinds of loss. I was able to help her, I don't want to say get through it, but I was able to help her talk about it. And she felt a kinship to me. I don't understand bullying. I never, ever, ever will understand why bullies do what they do. But I do think we have to stand up to bullies. And I think the very first thing that we have to do is stand up to them, because in my mind, a bully is a coward. And there are too many children losing their lives because of bullying in this country. Jess said, I tried to say maybe someone stole in BK's DNA, planted it on the sheath, stolen his vehicle, phone, etc. I asked them every time. So they stole all that and returned it back to BK without being caught. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh yeah, Aspen's right. Don't forget about the fact that Becky moved that book. I mean, it's yeah. So, it's like looking at every single little thing that you can pick at and pick away at. It's crazy. And perpetual motion, I can't say it better than this. Richard Allen put himself there wearing the same clothes. People still make excuses for him because they can't deal with the fact that he was never on anyone's radar. He was never who they suspected. And I said all along, I told Maria way last year, when they finally find Bridge Guy and make an arrest, it's going to be a shit show. And I don't think I've been wrong, really. I really don't. And Maria's right. This is the time for conspiracy. I have never seen so many conspiracy theorists in my life as I have in the last, 7 years? I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. Everything's a conspiracy. Everything's got all this. It's insane. I mean, it's just insane. Hey, Chris Owens, how are you? Well, it's in the news because Kegan Kline has been associated with Delphi since everything came out last December, when the police actually went on YouTube in the middle of the night. Well, not the middle of the night, but at 10 o'clock at night, and talked about the Anthony Schatz profile. And then when it became known that it was Kegan Kline and that he had been in jail for a year, yeah, people wanted to know what the heck was going on. So thank you, Aspen. Thank you so much. Oh, Dave, you are so sweet. You are so sweet. I've always said karma is definitely a blessing. My mom used to always say, what goes around comes around. And in a lot of ways, that's true. Aspen and made sure everyone could read the title. Didn't she say the name of the book, though? Something as innocent as telling people what book Libby was reading turned into that shit show. It's so true. It is so true. You know, she was just mentioning something about, you know, this is not something for school. It was something she was doing. She was reading for fun. She loved to read. She was simply sharing it. But everybody made such a big deal out of it. Perpetual Motion says, True Crime Maria, you are right. Some people needs there to be a conspiracy. I'm a person that believes in a lot of them, but it's not always the case. You have to have healthy discernment for truth. You have to keep an open mind, my God. You have to, and you have to keep your confirmation bias out of it. And it's not easy to do, and you need to be able to recognize it. And Ray, you are so right. Those that aren't bullied have to stand up for those who are. My oldest grandson, who's 19, when he was back in high school, I always told him, and even when he was in grade school and middle school, I always told him, you have to stand up when you see things that are wrong. When you see people doing things that are wrong to your friends or saying things that are wrong or behaving badly or poorly, don't laugh and make it okay. Call them out and tell them that that's not a good thing. And I think that's why he is such the great young man that he is, because he will certainly do it. You know, he swam all 4 years in high school on his swim team. And, you know, they voted him the most likely to be a leader later in life, because he leads by example. And he will definitely tell them if they're acting ridiculous or if they are being mean to someone. He will be the first one to call it out. And it's not easy. And nobody's saying it's an easy thing to do, because peer pressure is hard. And so it's hard. They are cowards. Bullies are cowards, and they just need validation. And if you've got people that will stand back and laugh and think what they're doing is okay, it will just keep them moving forward and bullying more and more and more. Yeah, they did say it was going to be a local. I always felt from day one it was a local. I feel that same way about Evansdale. I feel that Evansdale is also someone local living in plain sight. I firmly and absolutely believe it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. Okay. I'm just saying that's what I think. Yep, Aspen, you're so right. They're afraid someone will find out that they don't actually have any power, and that idea terrifies them. And it does. I mean, you know, just look at people who bully people online and how they treat and how they hide behind their persona online. And, you know, it's sickening at best. Yes, Maria, same. The one thing that I do know is that the There's some camps that have gone quiet, and that makes me realize that, not all is lost, because there are some people that finally realized, that no, this isn't what we thought it was. Aspen says, and if you read the things Kegan did and the content he had on his phone with children under the age of 12, he's a monster. And it absolutely deserves to be in the news. Exactly. I'm still not convinced that that's all him. Law enforcement believes that there were two people conversing with underage girls in that house. And I'm going to stick to that with what they know. Why they haven't charged another person, maybe they don't have enough to prove it. But that makes me sick just as bad. Yeah, Josh, that will be interesting as well. But I've always said that the sketches were given way too much weight. And I firmly believe that. And the sketches muddied the hell out of this case. Yeah, Jeff, that's interesting. A lot of bullies are bullies because they've been bullied, which I could never understand. Why be something that you hate? I like the bullies that don't recognize they're bullies. I like the bullies who say that they're the victims. That's the ones that I think are hilarious. And they're out there. They're gaslighting the hell out of people. And they're the ones doing all the bullying. Yeah, Kegan has never been charged with any crimes regarding Delphi. Only what the in the interrogation, and that document shows us, and then the documents of what they recovered from the phones. Yeah, Miracle Heart, it is mind-boggling. It makes you wonder. It's just, to me, it just makes you wonder, or see that it's not as easy when you're living amongst it. We're sitting on the outside and we're seeing this case, and that's all we're seeing. And we're seeing a photo, we're seeing this video, and people are going about and living their lives in Delphi, right? And they're going to the CVS, and they're going to the bars and playing pool and having a drink, and they're going to the restaurants and sitting down and having coffee or having a meal with a friend. They're not paying attention so closely. Do I know this person? Do I know that voice? Whatever. You think you're going to know. You think it's just something that's going to just pop right out to you, and it's not. It doesn't work like that. It's not like that. So it really is mind-boggling. What's more mind-boggling than the people not recognizing that he was Bridge Guy is the fact that he was so bold to be right around his wanted poster and with not a care in the world. That's what's scary. Yeah, Aspen, you're right. Some creators are only standing on their fragile egos, and that's a shaky foundation. And no one, and not one, they're going to give up easily. And that's true. And you just have to move on. Don't give those creators your time, your energy, your effort. Like I said, there are so many cases to cover, and so many people out there that need help, and families that need us to bring their loved one's story to the forefront. I don't have time for that stuff. I just don't. I really watch so few creators anymore. I just don't have time. I'm too busy researching my own stories, my own stuff. And I do watch some, but not like I used to. And you guys may notice it because, I used to be able to be in Sunny's channel more. I was able to be, with Frank and Marv more. I really love when I can hop in and see Mel, Cold Truth, but I just don't have that time anymore. I have a life besides YouTube. So it's like, you have to manage that, and it's hard. And Jeff, you're right. There's so many different platforms and so many ways that kids have to bully each other, and adults, just the bullying that people do in general. That's one reason why I love my channel and the community that we're building here, is because they understand what my rules and regulations are for this channel and this chat. And if I'm going to continue to have live streams, I expect my chat to behave and to not be, bullying each other, be respectful to each other, even if you have differences of opinion. I expect that. And I want that of everyone. And if you don't want to abide by that, then you need to go on and do something else, because that's what I demand here. And we have a great platform to be able to speak out against this. And people who condone it and continue to either, facilitate those channels or go to those Facebook groups or whatever that may be doing this kind of action, I don't have any time for it. Yeah, Ray, for sure. We all speak differently. We all type differently. I type, it's so funny. People laugh at me because of the way I text, because I text stream of conscience. And I think everybody in this chat that texts me knows what I'm talking about, because I don't just text one big, huge thing and then send it. I text as I'm thinking. And I know it can be a pain for people, but that's just how I am. I don't mean to be, but well, perpetual motion, I know that I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. And I'll be the first one to own up to that. But I hope I don't have to backtrack too much, because I want the facts. I've always been a channel that was one of the reasons that I started my channel, is I wanted it to be factual and try to stay as factual as I could possibly be. And I don't mind speculating, Jeff. It's okay to speculate to some degree, but with Delphi, we're past speculating. We have an arrest. Now we need to, the speculating can be about him and things like that, but to just talk about things that have no bearing on the case anymore, or just all of it, seeing pictures in clouds and all kinds of stuff. I'm just over it all. I'm over all of that stuff for me. We won't know until we know. Right now, we're not sure. I would not be at all surprised either way. I will not be shocked and surprised if it's a a lone wolf situation and Richard Allen did all this on his own, I will not be surprised if there is someone else involved or more than one or two people involved. I wouldn't be surprised either. So I will say that. And that is wonderful that she was able to do that, because I know how passionate she was about that scenario. And yeah, you know, to be able to say, hey, I'm sorry, you know, it's hard, guys, when you have to go back and do that. I'm so glad that you stayed. I am so glad. I love having you here. You have such great insights, and I love it. You know that. You know how I feel about you. Josh, you're hilarious. Life, what's that? I try to find one every now and then. I had my little 5-year-old grandson on Monday, and he made my whole day. I kept him overnight on Sunday night. So I found some life. Oh, Ray, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you follow me. That makes me very happy to know. Anybody that comes and wants to contribute and has the kindness in their heart for these victims and their families, you're all welcome here. There are so many out there to choose from. Like I said, I found a lot of new creators after getting away from the crazy that was going on for a while. I started looking for new creators to follow because to get different ideas on how to go about, telling the stories. And I'm always up for that. I want to look for new stuff. And, to blame a family member of the victim, you really should have undeniable proof. They're already going through so much. To put that on them and be wrong is horrible. It is. It is so unbelievable to me that people are still out there throwing Kelsey under the bus. She's pregnant. She is trying to grow a baby in her. And you need to be in a good mindset for that, and not to be anxious and having all this stuff. It's enough for her to be dealing with the fact that she's going to have a trial, quite possibly before this baby comes in August. And she's trying her darndest to stay off of social media and not read the crap that's written about her. But yet she's still an advocate for victims and try to do the things that she wants to do to help victims. So yeah, it's so sad. She was just a young kid when this all happened. It's sad. Yep, Michael Catt thought it was Thomas Bruce. And I'm sure that if Michael was still with us and everything that transpired last year, I'm thinking that Michael may not still think that anymore. Oh, Ray, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, guys, it's been a minute. I haven't done an over 2-hour live in a long time. But I'm going to say good night. Thank you so much for all of you for being here. Thank you for all of the ones who stuck around for the whole live stream. I certainly appreciate you. I will be back on Saturday night, and it sounds like I'm going to have Aspen as my guest. So I can't wait for that. And we will have a great show for you guys and another good conversation. So I hope to see everyone on Saturday night at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. But be kind to everyone out there. And if you get a chance, please pay it forward. Oh, Maria, I couldn't do it all without you guys. All my moderators, I couldn't do it without all of you. You guys are wonderful, and you really keep everything going. So I appreciate all of you. And to all of my new subscribers, wherever you are, thank you so very much. I am absolutely just overwhelmed. Oh, well, thank you. You can go to my store on my channel, and I have hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops. There's all kinds of stuff there. So you can just go there, Miracle Heart. And thank you so much for everything, you guys. It is a date, Aspen. I will see you. I will send you the link, my dear. Thank you, Mitzi. We certainly are really, really lucky to have you guys here. So, good night, everyone. I will see you on Saturday.